पाकिस्तान तो पेस्ट है यार. अगर हार के आओगे तुम्हारी घर वाली दरवाजा नहीं खोलेगी. You must position the instrument of force sensibly in your strategic calculus. If you really want to project power, it should be through missiles. If we are 10 times Pakistan's economy, it must also reflect in the strategic military. 5 minutes on 28 February, using Claude and Maven and AI and all that, we took out 50 Iranian leaders. Prime Minister Nehru thought that we could grow economically and defer national security spending for a while. On the 10th of May, there the state lay battered, the defenses shattered, the skies were naked. हम तो खोल के मार रहे थे. The Chinese use the Pakistanis as a prop. In all my life, I have hit Pakistan on the map. It was the first time we did it in reality. आपने देखा बालाकोट में क्या, उसको आपने बोल दिया कौवे आए थे, तो फिर हमने आपको और कौवे दिखाए. The attack on the parliament. Could there be anything more heinous than that? I mean, your entire leadership could have been wiped out that day. The Chinese play a long game. They want you to focus on the LCLAC. He stabbed us in the back. I'm saying he's stabbing you from the front. On the 10th of May, who was naked and who was secure?
A year ago, India executed Operation Sindur. For most of us, it was a moment of retaliation, a message to Pakistan. बड़ा सवाल ये नहीं है कि उस दिन भारत ने क्या किया, बल्कि उस दिन से भारत के लिए क्या कुछ बदल गया. Today we have with us Lieutenant General Raj Shukla, a retired army officer who's seen India's security challenges from the line of control in Kashmir, counter-insurgency zones, the western border, the eastern theatre, army headquarters, and the army's future planning and training institutions. In this episode today, we move beyond the why of India's actions and get into the how. How India assesses threats and weighs retaliation. Is India ready for the next war? This is a conversation about Pakistan, China, terrorism, Operation Sindur, the Indian army, and the future of war. But more than that, it is a conversation that every Indian needs to hear before the next crisis begins.
First of all, I just want to ask you one thing that every Indian wants to ask. Can India ever take POK or Aksai Chin back? Or is it just a political talk?
No, it's not a political talk. See, if there is the political desire and you resource the military, why can we not take it back? But since you ask, let me pose a larger question. And that is about, India's current geopolitical poise. हम हैं कहाँ और हम जाना कहाँ चाहते हैं? That be, I think, a good way to answer this question. So, we are now, 75, 76 years since independence. When I was growing up, मेरे को याद है एक लेख था, Times of India or somewhere, I don't recall who. It was headlined, The Wallflower and the Dance of the Dinosaurs. So, India was a wallflower. उस आर्टिकल का उसका लबो लबाब यही था. And the two dinosaurs, Soviet Union and USA, would not even ask you for a dance. हमारा ये हाल था. I've seen it, your passport, when you travel around abroad. So that is seriously changing. When people argue, so today, where are we? So let's take some metrics. Economy is the fourth largest. Per capita is not too good, but economy is fourth largest. We slipped marginally, but I'm sure we'll recover. Stanford की एक 2026 की report है on AI competitiveness. Let's say we are number 3. So somewhere we are there. So 4-3. Lowy Institute की एक they take out a comprehensive power index. Comprehensive. So across, the social sector, HR, economy, all that stuff, military power, technology. We are number 3. I was surprised. So they call USA and China as the superpowers. We are a major power. So from the wallflower to major power is a big but. We have a lot of weight and influence. But that weight and influence has to be converted into power. And that is a challenge. We haven't yet achieved that. So I look at it like that कि भाई अब way to influence को power में कैसे आप तब्दील करेंगे. Firstly, we should stop being coy about power. This is another argument I'll make. I and you have always been told Vasudev Kutumbakam. Good idea. One earth, one family, one futures. But this is the world of utopia. What is the world of reality? Aircraft carriers in the Gulf. Maduro का क्या हाल बना दिया. So I would also say that you must complement this with the other argument, also from an outstanding Indian, Swami Vivekananda, who said that the world is a gymnasium where nations come to make themselves strong. We should complement it, not make it either or. तो अगर हम दोनों करें, in that sense, I'm saying our weight and influence must convert into power. So economic power, technological power, military power, all kinds. And one of my favorites, we talk, हम बात कर रहे थे right wing. So Kissinger was a right winger, Morgenthau was a right winger. Why do we always, when we talk of right wingers, we go to the West? I argue Kautilya, Chanakya was the original right winger when he said, शास्त्र को भूलोगे तो संस्कृति खो दोगे, शस्त्र का त्याग करोगे तो राष्ट्र ही खो दोगे. What did he say? It's not shastra in that sense. He was saying you must position the instrument of force sensibly in your strategic calculus. So in these metrics, now what do we want to do? How does India become a power? We are at this stage where we have to now stop bothering too much about the LAC. We are too focused on that. This is the time to convert that power, I say, into comprehensive deterrence. Just the Prime Minister talks of Sudarshan Chak. What is our poise against the PLA's rocket force? Where are we in data readiness? Algorithmic warfare has arrived. We'll discuss. Offensive AI, Claude was used in Venezuela. यहाँ खर्चा करना है या POK? That is the serious question. What will secure us more? So I'm saying from mere territorial defense, comprehensive deterrence. अभी आप देखो, we are the number 3 country. Should we have a missile force of global precision strike? India में बात भी नहीं होगी इसमें. But should we have it?
Should.
See, yesterday it was Venezuela, today it is Iran, tomorrow it is Cuba. Could it be India one day? So why should we not have that kind of deterrence? So, and how will you have global precision strike? You will not have global precision strike unless you have massive investments in space. देखो Trump को आज क्या है? Today he was saying, I was watching him somewhere. He says, I can watch every corner of the globe. Nobody can make a monkey out of me. He was asking, are the Chinese shadow fleet? Look at it, it's a reality. Because they have a space force, they monitor everything. They know that where is their nuclear dust lying, Iranian scheme. It's 24-hour surveillance. I'm saying let's grow these capacities. Space, cyber, algorithm. This will what make you power. And if you really want to project power, it should be through missiles. You should be able to strike any place in the world with precision. And we are a responsible power, and your military is under civilian control, complete civilian control. This just expands options. Decisions to aapne lene hain. So it's not jingoism. It's not militarization. It is competency building. I'm talking of these capacities which expand political options. मिसाल के तौर पर अगर आप 2-3 साल बाद we decide कि यार Hafiz Saeed is a terrorist, he needs to be picked up. Can we do it like Maduro was picked up? That is power. Calibrated power. कि यार देखो हम तुमको छेड़ेंगे नहीं, अगर तुमने ज़्यादा तंग किया उठा के ले आएंगे यार. Now to do that you need to build capacities in space, cyber, which we don't have. So we should focus on this kind of stuff. And look at, are we in an era of choke point conflicts now? आज हॉर्मुज में तमाशा हो रहा है, कल मलक्का में क्या होगा? Can we dominate Malacca? I mean, people say Taiwan दूर है. You look at Taiwan, look at how lucky India is and we are not making use of it. We have an 11,000 kilometer coastline. खाली है. We should be making A to AD here. Maritime domain awareness, missiles, ताकि कोई ना आ पाए. Without saying so, they should become an Indian lake. What was this Iris Dina incident? I can recall some MAGA guy sitting in their office and having fun. ये बोलते हैं ना कि net security provider. देखो. No way. This is signaling. So make the Indian Ocean your lake in that sense and project power across Malacca. पाकिस्तान के पीछे पाकिस्तान तो पेस्ट है यार. उसकी economy is 1/10 of your size. Somebody says उसकी economy is less than the market cap of the Bombay Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
उसके पीछे हम क्यों? It's a pest. But there are these larger challenges. Look at the Chinese challenge. We were talking of Taiwan. See, we have this great coastline. तुम China की problem देखो. Their maritime geography, in their first island chain, there is South Korea, Japan, Philippines, USA, either US or US allies. They can't break out of this. Their power is bottled here. तभी तो वो ताइवान के पीछे पड़े हैं. It's just not the historical link. That's one part. And I know from a certain conference, a Chinese general told me that the day we get hold of the first island chain, in 8 years we'll be in Los Angeles, knocking the doors of Los Angeles. And 8 years, he didn't tell me that, but 8 years he'll also be in the IOR. So, should we stop Chinese power at Malacca? Those are the larger questions. And after debating all these, if you still want to do POK, humko hukum do, hum POK kar देंगे. But I look at it that way. I'm a military man. I will give you this advice and these options. There are better things to do if we want to grow as a power. And that is one more reason I keep making this point, and let me make it through your podcast. Civilian ideation on military matters has to go. No military has reformed on its own. It has been pushed, persuaded by civilian ideation. And in our country, we don't encourage it. Think tanks are not well paid enough, so the bright minds don't come to national security. We have to build that ecosystem where all these things should be. These issues are beyond the military. Military gives one input. Of course, it's an important input. We should answer all these questions. We must make our country powerful so that nobody messes with us and we can grow in peace. Economic prosperity should come to our people. That's the larger objective. But so, I'm a strong votary of making ourselves strong. But uske metrics kya ho, mechanics kya ho, and in my view, this is the time to turn to the seas. We are just not investing enough in our maritime domain, and there will be great consequences. So we should be able to stop Chinese power at Malacca, perhaps far project across. And one day, why not project power into the first island chain? That also should be there.
Also, sir, if we see Russia-Ukraine is already problematic, then again, Iran, US, Israel is in a conflict zone. Is India in this time ready to fight a two-front war realistically?
So see, firstly, we should call it a single theater. Tell me, what has China not given Pakistan? They help them with their land triad of the nuclear weapons. Now they are helping them with the sea triad of the nuclear weapons. पूरी बाइडू सैटेलाइट्स उनके लिए हाजिर हैं. बाइडू 3 वगैरह मिलेगी उनको. Iran has done targeting in the Gulf because of Baidu 3, and it's pretty accurate. So they're targeting पूरी उनको मिलेगी. उनको पूरा arms, ammunition, सब कुछ मिलता है. जहाज उनके हैं, pilots पाकिस्तान के हैं. So hardware सारा उनका है. So why do we even ask this question? I was really surprised after Sindur, people said, sir, China was helping them. You're realizing it now? It's obvious. They've been doing it. When I was commanding the division in Baramulla, I think 2011-12, we used to see Chinese faces across. We used to wonder, what is this? The Chinese had come through, assist them in the CPEC. Okay. But the same manpower was being used to build military infrastructure. So China or Pakistan to you. So it is a one-front threat. Right. Now, we have also strengthened ourselves greatly. So along the LAC-LC, there is no such threat. I mean, they can't alter the LAC-LC. If they attempt, like they did in Galwan or in Doklam, they will also get a bloody face. So that kind of fear we don't have. But if you are talking of larger Chinese power, of course it's a force to reckon with. The military component of the power differential with China is $450 billion year on year. So what is the way to deter them? Now, see, let's go into these conflicts. What has happened really is, there was a time, as President Bill Clinton very famously observed, he said it's the economy, stupid. Meaning thereby that at the end of the day, in domestic politics or international politics, what mattered was the economy. Baki sab bakwas. That has changed greatly. Today, I think it's national security still. And technology is driving national security like never before. So if you take these two metrics in, see what's happened in Ukraine. I mean, sometimes people don't realize it. Ukraine was a country without an air force or a navy. And when they're suddenly faced with this great military, Russia, they have built dronery from a scratch. 2022 में जब ये लड़ाई शुरू हुई थी, drones were used in weddings. Today, drones, they have created along the frontier, 35 to 40 kilometers either side. Tanks don't move. Artillery has been pushed back. Infantry soldiers are killed. Dronery and AI. So the larger point I'm making is that they have held a superpower like Russia at bay for 4 years on the back of technological innovation. दूसरा आप देखो combat asymmetry क्या होगी. Today a Shahid drone is as powerful as a Tomahawk missile. In fact, वो जो 13 bases हैं Americans के military bases, they intercepted all the missiles. All the drones went through, or many of the drones went. They've suffered massive losses. They are hiding those losses. Massive. So dronery has arrived. But more than dronery, what is it? It is on the back of technological innovation. Combat asymmetry. For every dollar that the Iranians spend on the Shahid drone, it costs the Americans $28 to intercept it. When it comes to the missile mathematics, between the Shahid drone and the American Patriot, it is a 114:1 cost disadvantage for the Patriot. So today you can get higher lethality at lower costs. And why? Look at the talent. Who are the generals in Ukraine? Just name them. You won't be able to name one. बताओ कौन है? Sam Manekshaw का आप नाम बता दोगे, Sagat Singh का बता दोगे. Ukraine में कौन है? Because the generals in Ukraine are Elon Musk, Palmer Luckey, Alex. It's a fact. They have, with technology, they have changed the whole damn thing. So India has to do this. So the worries are not really LACLC. In the larger sense, we have to do more. And if we convert, as I said, our weight and influence into power, we must do this now. If we are 10 times Pakistan's economy, it must also reflect in the strategic military dimension. It should not be touch and go. There should be combat over match. If I have the capacity to pick up Hafiz Saeed, if we can, through decapitate 5 minutes on 28 February, using Claude and Maven and AI and all that, you took out 50 Iranian leaders. 50. Imagine 5 minutes. So tomorrow, if we are tasked to take out the Pakistani ISI military leadership, we should be able to decapitate them. And if the Pakistanis know we have those capacities, terror attacks will not happen.
They won't even try.
So combat over match with Pakistan and with China, since it's currently not possible. Asymmetric deterrence, like the Ukrainians have done, on the back of technological innovation. तो जो आपका बुनियादी सवाल है, सब कुछ हो सकता है. But you have to think through it and then work towards it. Just by talking, it will not happen.
So if we are comparing both the governments, you've been in service for a long time now. And compared to the previous government and the present government, in terms of the Indian army or the armed forces for all, how has it changed?
Yeah, okay. It's a good question. So let's be fair to both the governments.
Okay.
So 47, when we underfunded our national security, perhaps there were strong reasons. We didn't have a strong economy. And I think Prime Minister Nehru thought that we could grow economically and defer national security spending for a while. And the 62 conflict proved him wrong. And I have a hunch that he realized it. If he had lived longer, the national security reform would have happened faster. There was one General Thorat whose advice was disregarded in 1962. And there is a famous conversation which Nehru has with him and kinds of regrets it and says, I wasn't told and all that. So that was one phase. Then we start building our military slowly, 65. 71 was a fantastic victory under the Congress government. It was a fantastic victory. Then there's another bright phase we have when Rajiv Gandhi is in power. Because Rajiv Gandhi is a technologically inclined. And we have one of our brightest army chiefs ever, General Krishnaswamy Sundarji, who was really very good technologically, intellectually, and they clicked. Okay. So for 3 years, I think there was a military boom. Defense spending went beyond 3%. We mechanized. A whole lot of stuff happened. Unfortunately, both wars happened in this. And Bofors bought cracks between them, and that relationship fell apart. So there have been phases in the past. Then there was Kargil. After Kargil, there was a review committee. Mr. Jaishankar's father, K. Subramaniam, he chaired it. There was a whole series of halting reforms. And that is now across various governments. So it's across the BJP-led governments, Congress governments. But what we must also acknowledge, in my view, is that 2014, when this government comes to, they begin the boldest, most far-reaching reforms in national security since independence. So to be fair, and what is this? The Chief of Defense Staff and the DMA, I have seen for 60 years of it being resisted one way or the other. I never thought it'll happen in my lifetime. By the way, I was in Baramulla division. So I took over the Baramulla division from Anil Chauhan. And I never thought that we would ever have a CDS. And I never thought Anil Chauhan would be the CDS. So surprises happen. And it is game changing. If on a professional level, if you compare it with, say, the American Barry Goldwater Nichols, which is the standard bearer of jointness, it's far stronger. This business of Atmanirbharta in defense. What is different this time is that you're getting the innovation in energy and enterprise of the private sector and startups. That's the heart. Right. Previously, if you met a private sector guy from the military, it would be a career-ending move. You couldn't meet the private sector. It's huge. No. Could you have imagined that the HAL in an AMCA bid, AMCA, this whole deal which might get signed, they're not even in the bid because they're inefficient. Tata Airbus doing a deal to keep HAL out. Adani building an ammunition factory. Unheard of. And we know that on the West and all that, I mean, Silicon Valley is in lock and embrace with the American military. All the innovation comes from there. Right. The PSUs will not be able to deliver this. No, these are huge changes. And that's why I say the most far-reaching. Defense coming out of the shadows of foreign policy. पुराने ज़माने हम जाके MEA ने क्या बोला है? It's no longer the case. आज वजूद है. You see our chiefs speaking, chiefs of defense staff speaking. I remember long back, I think it was General Deepak Kapoor who spoke on Pakistan. And the heading in one of the, I think Indian Express was "Loose Cannons." I mean, army chief cannot speak on Pakistan. How idiotic. You see the American CDS and all, he does a geopolitical survey of the world. So this was a way of, straitjacketing the military. I don't know for what reason. So this mechanisms of civilian of control were juvenile. Now they are mature. These are huge changes. New normals in our strategic outlook. It's not that we were not aggressive in the past. We did 71. We created a new geopolitical reality. But we were a little coy. I can tell you that. Balakot was fantastic. Sindur was just amazing. So I'm trying to be fair to all. I've told you what happened in the past. In that sense, I say that we need a large national security makeover. The beginnings perhaps are in these 2014 reforms. Sindur is a benchmark or a springboard. Let's call it a springboard for faster, deeper, and more substantive reforms. So previous governments did what they have, and I've told you good and bad. The two good phases I've told you. 2014, I think, is real. It's a comprehensive review of the way we look at national security. It's not 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Outlook, chintan, manthan, soch jo hai. Everything changed. But it has to be executed now. And so Sindur is a good benchmark. It is a springboard. A lot to be done. It's not... and you look at the competition now. Primarily, look at the competition between USA and China. These areas are just, what shall I say, they are cutthroat competition. It's Sam Dam Dand Bhed, national interest by means fair or foul. And you see, national security, they will never be runners up. When log kehte hain na, pehle se acha tha, it is to bilkul acha tha. But you have to beat China, damn it. Agar hum haar gaye, will you say, nahi, acha lade, aap haar gaye? No, you heard of Sam Manekshaw? Yeah. So, 71, the year I passed out, 82, he had come to take the salute, our golden jubilee. So I remember he said, he had seen the depths of 62. 62, when we lost, was when Manekshaw was a major general. And of course, as the chief, he leads the victory into 71. But around, he told us, he said, I have seen the ignominy of defeat, and I have seen, the great joys of victory. He says, in defeat, अगर हार के आओगे तुम्हारी घर वाली दरवाजा नहीं खोलेगी. Trying to tell you that there's no place for losers. In national security, there are no runners up. You just have to get it right. So that's the challenge of national security.
Now that we've arrived about talking for Operation Sindur, it's already been 1 year to Operation Sindur now. While Pakistan got what it deserved, what do you think is that one factor that decides a military action for a terror attack? And also, do you think, apart from what happened with Operation Sindur, the way it was progressing, what was the bigger achievement for India? The way we made our precision strikes, one, or the uncertainty in terms of the timing we carried out the strikes in?
So, see, you have to just take this back a little bit. So, let's take the attack on the parliament. So, I was a major then. So, the parliament was attacked. Could there be anything more heinous than that? I mean, your entire leadership could have been wiped out that day. So, the parliament was attacked. And then, of course, we have that mobilization, Parakram. When Parakram happens and we are deployed, they repeat it. And in a cantonment in Kaluchak, soldiers and their families are massacred. And I was in a neighboring cantonment, Ratnuchak, and there was, absolute anger. And I remember our chief said it just the next week. Mr. Vajpayee said, "Aar paar ki ladai." We thought we'll sort them out once and for all. And then this starts. They do it very cleverly. Pakistanis do a terror attack, and then one of their guys, Kidwai or that, will come and say, this is a nuclearized environment. So look, very smartly. And they'll play it on the Americans. Embassies यहाँ खाली होने लगी. And now हमको सलाह मिलने लगी कि चलो वो तो है ही बेवकूफ, you be responsible. And no, responsible है, nuclearized है, आप तो समझदार हो. And they would do this narrative and get away with every time. And so, what Parakram primarily did, it called their nuclear bluff. We said, you have nuclear weapons, we have nuclear weapons, we know you'll not use them. We know how to orchestrate our operations so as to make sure that you don't cross that red line, and you will not get away with this any longer. The Americans will not be able to save you. This was the first thing. We also look what happened. I mean, this, I don't know why people don't say it absolutely unequivocally. There was political will which demonstrated new normals in our strategic outlook. हमने Pakistan को, in all my life, I have hit Pakistan on the map. It was the first time we did it in reality. Rawalpindi, Raiwind, ऊपर से लेके नीचे तक. Noor Khan is like hitting Palm. I mean, they were struck in their heart. It was when we decided to, therefore I say it's also a righteous war. For so many years we were hit. I mean, I remember Farooq Abdullah once joked about our military response. He said, आपकी Air Force है ना? तो ये जो Air Force है, ये one of these bases here, which could it be Bhopal or something. Air Force यहाँ से उड़ती है, zoom करके अम्बाला में land कर जाती है. And they started mocking the instrument of force. And so therefore it was used. What is it for? New normals in our strategic outlook. Our territorial air defenses were robust. And I'm not saying that they are perfect. We should improve them greatly for the China threat. But the synergies were evident because we now had a CDS who got all those plans together in 3-4 days. Pehle plans used to take a month to put together. Air Force ये मना कर रहा है, Army ये मना कर रही है. These are the small issues. Our maritime poise was menacing. In fact, I'm really surprised. That is the area we had the greatest edge, and we didn't use it. So he knew what was coming. Look at how clairvoyant was the conflict initiation. While we went into it, we were astute in conflict termination. 4 दिन में खत्म कर दिया. Look at the Americans. They're still stuck. they are getting into a quagmire. We didn't do all that.
Russia.
Yes, Iran-Russia. So you tell me from the military metrics, I can point out little wrong. Look at what happened to Pakistan. For all their talk, on the 10th of May, the state laid battered, its defenses shattered, its skies were naked. हम तो खोल के मार रहे थे. And there, whatever they may say, the military, their political leadership went running to Trump or whatever the international locutors were begging for mercy. Ki band kar do. So military to military, I have no doubt they have got a solid message. Now the narratives, the way you spin them, shape them, that's a different thing. So it was a solid reply to Pakistan. But as we just discussed, we have larger threats. So this must be, we must celebrate Sindur, we must rejoice at Sindur, but greater wisdom would be to see how the springboard can do faster, deeper reforms so that our national security becomes robust in a wider sense. So that's my assessment of Sindur.
Right. And when it comes to wars, the damage is never constrained, from economy to human life and infrastructure. Now, during Operation Sindur, how did India manage to avoid all of it while damaging everything we targeted in Pakistan?
See, firstly, I mean, that is because we are a good military. We must pat ourselves on our back. From the BrahMos missiles to what happened along the LAC, I don't think we took a scratch. Did we lose some aircraft? Perhaps we have. We don't know the number because the government hasn't said so. We would have lost some aircraft. But see, this is not Coco. You will lose something. The Americans, अभी वो जो 2 एयरमैन जो डाउन हुए थे, उनको रिकवर करने में they have lost so many aircraft that number is greater than the number they have lost since the Vietnam War. अच्छा, why don't we ask the Pakistanis कि आपके कितने जहाज गिरे? आप बता दीजिए. So that is the only thing I see in Sindur which people point against us. There were some losses, but they also lost. Look at what the Americans lost. Just to recover 2 airmen, 2 C-130s, 2 Black Hawks. So it has to be seen in that sense. I mean, war is a bloody game. ऐसा तो होगा कि नहीं आपको खरोच नहीं लगेगी. But what should be the determinants of victory? When conflict terminates on 10th of May, where were you? Where were those J-17s and all? Gaib the. Were you not hit badly? I have never seen such battering. Such shameless battering I haven't seen. They just couldn't intercept anything. So that tribute goes to the Chief of Defense Staff, the Air Force. So I'm saying it was an overwhelming military victory. Perhaps our strategic communications could have been better. The overwhelming military success did not convert into a strong enough narrative. And now those we should analyze why it happened. Somehow Pakistan and the West spun the narrative that it was an equal war, which is not true at all.
So what happened in Kirana Hills? Because that is something everyone talked about. That was a core thing. How did India target the most fortified nuclear or military infrastructure of Pakistan there? And probably that is the reason why it pushed Pakistan towards calling the US in between.
So see, now nobody will know it except people within the government. So you can only assess from the outside. I don't think India will do direct targeting of a nuclear. I mean, see, we have to understand one thing. Nuclear weapons are for deterrence. They are solid for deterrence. So we have been very smart. Look at the trouble that Iran is getting into now just to acquire them. So we must really pay tribute to Indira Gandhi, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and all those who got a nuclear weapon for us. It was really a Brahmastra. Having said that, they have not to be used in this cavalier fashion. So I don't think our government would have targeted Kirana Hills. What we perhaps either it is incident or there is signaling. I think the larger signaling is there, and it's not just the nuclear stuff. That this is our precision. Your leadership is could be taken out, and other assets could be taken out. So that is the larger signaling. I don't think we will do such a thing. See, I am a big votary of calibrated military power. sophisticated, calibrated, but I'm not a votary of jingoism.
Mhm.
We have to have restraint. And a powerful man shows restraint. A powerful country shows restraint. So why should we target their nucleus? I don't think we're targeting. Somehow, personally, I don't buy this.
Mhm.
There could be signaling that we are close to you and all that.
That if we can do it, but we are not doing it.
But उनके nuclear weapons क्या निकालने यार? वो देश ही निकाल दिया. वो nuclear weapon करके क्या? This is, if I'm in Pakistan, I'm seriously worried. What happened to my defenses, air defenses, the way the bases were hit all over? And we also have to be careful and look at our air defense architecture in terms of the Chinese rocket force. It is like that. But see, I keep returning to the argument. What should we do on the Western horizons? Iran, if I tell you, is closer to India than to Israel.
Mm.
The Gulf matters greatly to us. A country of India's size, when we look at Pakistan, we are stuck in the partition trap. Our gaze should be far beyond. Our gaze should be far beyond. Similarly, along the Eastern horizon, it suits Pakistan to get to, in the strategic commentariat, to equate themselves with us. It belittles us when we equate ourselves with them. Pakistan to ऐसे ही हम झेल लेंगे. We shouldn't. In fact, our biggest problem is that we have obsessed Pakistan for so long, with Pakistan for so long. So the various metrics are, where are they in technology? अभी कितना $1 billion का था, किसी ने दे दिया तो बच गए, सऊदी अरेबिया में दे दिया, वो तो ऐसे डे टू डे रेंज गए. And look at us.
Also, the moment Pahalgam happened with us, the first response was to suspend the Indus Water Treaty. How, over the year, do you see it has impacted Pakistan?
See, now these are also tools. We are what? We are a mid-riparian state. Look at how Chinese are ruthless with us. Are they so generous with their water? So now there is, in strategic competition, there are tools beyond the military. These are choke points. Water is a choke point. Rare earths is a choke point. So I'd raise a larger question. In this whole choke point battle, what are our strengths? And this is, as we become, a serious power, we have to contend with. Look at this battle between the USA and China. It's very interesting. I read it like this. The Chinese have been scorning at the Americans for a while. You're a power in decline. You remember that conversation between Putin and Xi? He said, changes the world has never seen. This is our moment. This was all signaling to the Americans. And the Americans were watching. So the MAGA movement has come on this belief that we are not in decline, we'll show you. And so what did they do? All this talk of Panama, Greenland is that in our periphery, nobody but the United States. Anybody who is close to the Chinese or the Russians will be booted out. That's why they booted out Maduro. I'm told Maduro was in some kind of talks with the Russians to get missiles which should target USA. And he was trading his oil in non-dollar currencies. Oh, America, look what they did to him. And so there Trump gets the keys of one gas station. In Iran, the nuclear weapons are an issue, but it is also about, in my view, oil. This key to the second gas station. Today he was saying that if the Hormuz is closed, the Chinese are welcome to come to us. We'll sell them oil. The Japanese are welcome to come to us. Look at that. Look at how people think. And it is my view that he wants to go to Xi next month and say, remember how you choked me on rare earths last time? I have got the keys to 2 gas stations. Your oil comes through me. Look at the Americans. What their largest system we should debate. They take talent from all over the world. Elon Musk from South Africa, Satya Nadella, Yashoda, Anushka, you're all welcome. And they will give you great university campuses. So you will feel even better. But what do they make you do? They make you create wealth for them, technology for them. Fine. It's their way of doing it. And they use a great part of that wealth to structure and run a military with global reach. 800 military bases around the world. 11 aircraft carriers. Why doesn't India think like that? No country thinks like that. You have to give it to them. And that military is just not to jack around the world. It underwrites the dollar. It underwrites their economic aspirations. It's a very smart move. They're not fools investing in their military. So they were wanting to show that we are not a power in decline. And the military is a part of it. You have to give credit to Trump that he built the military in the first term. He's given them $1.5 trillion. Which president gives it? But he's now holding them to account. Tell me which one military in the world which can project power 2 oceans away. 2 oceans. The Chinese are finding it difficult. 100 kilometers में 100 उनके corrupt general निकल आए. So difficult to project power. India, we are not even talking about power projection. So in that sense, these are the larger, lessons that come out, and we have to take into account this. What the Americans are doing, should we do it? Is it in our interest? We have to debate those things. But some of the things that they do makes good sense to me. हम क्या करते हैं? We work in silos. Economy, military stuff अलग,
Tech,
private अलग, government अलग, tech अलग. They converge, they confluence. All their tools of statecraft to push their national interest. We have to develop that culture, that thinking.
Now, when we talk about Operation Sindur, it has been said again and about that the Operation Sindur is still on. When can we expect a new wave, or how is the planning going on? And is there any idea as to what will be India's next move?
So I think that is to tell Pakistan this, that if you repeat a terror attack, you will get it back. So to me, it's as simple as that. So I think for a while they're smart enough, they'll restrain their people, they will not do it. But see this larger thing, if I was in Pakistan, very seriously now, can terror be a tool of statecraft? Is there any sense in that? It just can't be. Or if you think that you will do terror and take J&K, is it going to happen? You're dealing with India, 143 crore Indians, one of the most powerful militaries in the world. आपको मिलेगा ही नहीं. अगर कोई चांस है उसको सेटल करने का, it's through बातचीत. And certainly not terror. It's just not going to work. So in this day and age, to think that Hafiz Saeed will be able to, this whole business, I appeal to the elite. Well, terror is a tool of statecraft work. It's not going to work. You're going to get it back. तो आपने देखा बालाकोट में क्या हुआ. उसको आपने बोल दिया कौवे आए थे, तो फिर हमने आपको और कौवे दिखाए. तो you realize, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to do what they are doing. I think that's the reason. But you'll do it, we'll do it again. But what we should be careful about is this, that the Chinese use the Pakistanis as a prop to take our attention there. And moment you just see this, moment we start focusing seriously on China, Pakistan will do something. Go back to history. So it takes our eye off the bigger challenge. And the Chinese play a long game. They want you to focus on the LCLAC so that you don't turn your attention to the seas. And all good big powers today, they are all maritime powers. Look at USA. Look at what China is going to have a 500 ship navy by 2030. 500. We are what? In the whereabouts of 140, 150. Right. China's shipbuilding is 200 times that of USA. Warship production 3 times. Cement 20 times. Steel 11 times. 97% of the EV market. Batteries. This is what should worry us. You see how they think? I'll give you an example. If we can emulate it. हम क्या कहते हैं? I grew up with a term was saying सस्ता सुंदर टिकाऊ, which is L1, which is a pack of nonsense. See what the Chinese do. So I was in 4 months back. I was in this Morgan Stanley summit in Singapore. So the guy before me was the chairman BYD. You know, BYD car company. So he says that 10 years back, I was called by the Politburo and said, how can you beat Tesla? Look at how they think, Tesla. He says, we went with a plan, and one of the core arguments of the plan was that Tesla spends $5 billion on R&D. So the Politburo said, take 15. 15. And he said, no. So we broke up. We did an analysis ki Tesla ki strengths kya thi. So one, he says, is energy. Second is AI. And the third is robotics. He says, today, robotics, we are streets ahead. You go to China, you'll see it. AI, we are behind. Far behind, we are catching up. Energy, we are streets ahead. Batteries. Look at how they think. This is how you beat companies. Strategic thinking. हमको 10 साल हो गया ये startups वगैरह में. And all this has happened just because the Prime Minister. I'm telling you, it's just going to happen. But some of it is very good startups in defense and all that. But still look at the problem. हमारी वो क्या, अच्छा उसको ऑर्डर एक बार मिल गया ना, अभी छोड़ दो, बाकी को दे दो, सबको बंदर बाट. अच्छा ऑर्डर मिल गया, कोई बात नहीं, रिपीट ऑर्डर चाहिए, फाइल दोबारा 1 साल. This whole attitude of bureaucracy, I don't blame them, but this is how we are done. What do the Chinese do? If you're a good startup, say I don't know, you say you're just making glasses, civil, you will one day get an order from the PLA. Army aapko order degi, you say, why? They've spotted you. And then the next stage, if you're really good, they will say, all right, these two products, I'll hold your hand till commercial viability. When you start playing the market well, and you really have that, you can sustain, you can survive, they'll say, सब कुछ छोड़ दो, मेरे साथ आओ, पूरी funding PLA देगी आपको, because we have to beat that American startup in the horizon which is working on sensors. It is strategic. It is not L1. अगर मैंने तुमको order दे दिया तो लोग कहेंगे. They have national champions. Their mayors, Beijing and Shanghai, are in grim competition. तुम्हारे 4 AI startup, मेरे 2. किसको order मिला? तो देखो ये कैसे चलता है.
Competing amongst themselves.
Compete amongst themselves. So they I'm told BYD, there were 2,000 companies and 5 survived. One of them was BYD. But the 5 they survived play the global market. They are so competitive pehle, and they don't say L1, they say H1, build the best. Are they not cost conscious? They are. How are they cost conscious? Ek bar they identify the best, they will scale up to capture global markets. When you scale up, costs go down. वो देखो कैसे सोचते हैं. Kishore Mevani makes a great argument for us to ponder about. He says, closed society, open minds. Open society, closed minds. Why? This business of talent, I keep raising it because we really have to sort this out. It's again Kishore Mevani who says that Indians beat the Chinese in the most competitive human laboratory in the world, USA. On common ground, Indians beat the Chinese. He says that the Indians in India, the ecosystem allows their productivity to be even 50% of their Indian counterparts in USA. Satya Nadella, India's GDP will be $25 trillion. I don't know what the argument is, but it makes sense to me. So this is what we have to do. Strategically सोचना है. Talent को प्राथमिकता देनी है. Indians में भी वो in fact are Indians, I think one of the most intelligent communities in the world. At least सामने तो ऐसे ही दिखता है. But ये हमारा ecosystem issue, which is now changing, but not at that same pace.
It will take a lot of time.
Yeah, when I was growing up, my father told me, "Beta, system में रहना है. Don't छेड़छाड़ नहीं करनी." So it was what? Don't rock the boat. I'm saying now the time has come for India to rock the world. We have to take risks, innovate more. That's the only way we will survive. बातचीत हो रही है. Can it convert? Arun Shore had a famous phrase for it. He used to say कि बर्तनों की आवाज आ रही है, but खाना नहीं पड़ सका. So the noises are there from the kitchen. The meal has to be served.
Over time, we've seen China making claims on our land, building border infrastructure around Arunachal, around the border areas. But still, somehow, China remains our largest trading partner. So, what do you think? What has China done differently to hold us from all sides at once?
Yeah, so see, there are two views with China. I think former Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh said that there is space for both. That was his view. My understanding is that the Chinese think that there can be only one tiger on a hill. You look at their viewpoint. If they are to be a superpower, a global superpower, they have to reign in Asia. There can be only one hegemon. But their problem is that we are India. Size, population. America doesn't have that problem. America की periphery में कौन है? Canada, Mexico. China's thing is India. And I'm very clear in my mind that it is one tiger on a hill. The only way you will have these two tigers settle on either sides of the slope of the hill is through your strength, economic, technological, and military deterrence. So I'm saying I'm a big advocate of deterrence, not war fighting. Build capacities that deter, which don't encourage the adversary to see any weaknesses in you. If they don't see weaknesses, they will not provoke. If they see weaknesses, they will provoke. It is as simple an argument as that. And whenever we have said, no, trust the Chinese, trust कर लो, जितनी बार trust उसको बोला है, उसने कुछ ना कुछ किया है. 62, Samandrongju, Doklam, Galwan. So I'm saying trust but verify. After Galwan, we did a major rebalancing to the north in terms of troops, mechanized forces, technology. I don't think China will mess with us along the LAC any longer. They have also got it many times. But my argument is different. I'm saying we should expand the relationship with China on the back of military deterrence. हम उल्टा करते हैं. पहले ट्रेड करते हैं और we don't pay enough attention to our defenses. जब वो कुछ करता है तो हमने धोखा दे दिया. अरे he's meant to do धोखा यार. He stabbed us in the back. I'm saying he's stabbing you from the front. Look at it. What if we reverse the argument and we say we will create military deterrence and then we'll talk on everything, but we will not let down our guard on military deterrence. Now here the question is that what does it have to do with trade? If my military deterrence is solid, trade में आपने जो करना है करो. I have no quarrel with it. Please do whatever you wish to do, but there are challenges there. Now the larger point is also right why we must break silos. I've written a whole book on this civil-military fusion where I make this argument. You see, look, China's manufacturing capacities in the civil sector were half of those of USA in 2002. Half. By 2022, they become twice civil manufacturing. Only then, today, is the Chinese military-industrial complex 5 to 6 times more efficient than USA. So it is the Indian defense manufacturing cannot grow if the larger base is not solid. भाई उसके parts तो कहीं बनेंगे, वो छोटी-छोटी जगहों में बनेंगे. So that whole ecosystem has to grow. So we just have to break our silos. In fact, the state I come from, UP, वहाँ एक बड़ी अच्छी, I don't know, कहावत क्या बड़ा, I've heard it, कि सरस्वती, लक्ष्मी, दुर्गा का मिश्रण. Look how brilliant. It says what? Nurse your universities, centers of R&D. Use that same logic what the Americans are doing. उसमें से respect wealth creation. We don't do it. हम तो अभी भी government private sector में बड़ा वो है. Respect wealth creation, Lakshmi. और कुछ लक्ष्मी लेके nurse your instruments of power, दुर्गा. But break silos. हमारे यहाँ अभी भी military shipbuilding, civil shipbuilding, हर जगह ये हाल है. Chinese don't do it. The Americans are talking of MCF. So one is resources, one is convergence of capacities, cultural outlook. तो मेरे को तो ये primary question से तकलीफ है कि भाई military or trade, both. If you are strong military, you can do it. And the larger trade imbalances are, of course, a different matter. How have we allowed ourselves to get into that? Because we don't think big. I told you how they are dominating markets. Why shouldn't we talk of dominating this market? हमारा क्या पूरा वो है वो क्या है वो सस्ता सुंदर टिकाऊ. So L1 has become a disease. L1 comes in the way of ambitions. Think big. Somebody said, नजरें आसमान पे पैर जमीन पर. That's that sense. I'm not saying that you fly in the air unnecessarily, but allow the drones, the dreams of people to grow. And there's enough talent in India. अगर हम startups बात देखो, I know the national security space very well. There's no dearth of money. It's a misnomer. Problem is regulation. So much regulation that you don't let the processes flow. अगर आपने आज लोगों को orders दिए, they are VCs waiting to fund.
Right.
Indian or foreign. There's no problem. America में today, I'm told the investments in AI are of the order of $1 billion every day, rising to 2, 3. वहाँ argument है AI is such virgin territory that every use case is a success. हमारे यहाँ क्या बोलेंगे पैसे नहीं है, पैसे नहीं होगी सारा रेगुलेट करके रखा है आप. You know, the Prime Minister himself said, he said, release the innovation, the forces of innovation, energy and enterprise from the scourge of process and procedure. And he will use the word niyamo ka jal. We just have to remove it. And it will flow. Look, we keep critiquing R&D. So I'll give you some figures which, at least to me, were amazing. USA spends $975 billion on R&D, science and all that. $700 billion come from the private sector. Can you imagine? 700. हमारे यहाँ अनुसंधान fund has been created by the government for private sector. I mean, it's ridiculous. I asked the private sector, it's not that you don't invest in R&D. Why don't you see obvious value in R&D? अगर R&D नहीं करोगे, is it not telling you where you will be 10 years hence? And the reason I can just sense is because regulation. उनका ये कहना है हर चीज में सब सरकार सरकार सरकार. So we have to deregulate faster. Only then will innovation grow. So I think we are stuck at this talent, mediocrity, innovation, regulation. These are the larger issues. If you do all this, military trade will sort itself out. That's my understanding.
So considering the technology, how far are we behind China in terms of defense or infrastructure?
So there is one ASPI tracker, Australian Strategic Policy Institute का एक tracker है, निकलता है आप देखिएगा उसको. Look at this, again amazing. It tracks 65 emerging critical technologies, AI, quantum, robotics, military autonomy, all of them in great detail and subsets of it, 65. 2003 to 2007, the world's only superpower, USA, led in 60 out of 65 technologies. Clean sweep, कोई नजदीक नहीं था. Then China does 1,000 talents plan, getting the smartest Chinese from all over the world back. Quantum, stealth. Yesterday I was at a seminar and somebody was arguing that fundamental science doesn't matter. What we need is engineers. How wrong. Unless you invest in fundamental science, you will not get first degree engineers. तो देखो quantum, stealth, तब काम करते हैं. वो जो था ना डेंग का bide your time, they were actually biding their time. They start working on that and they get Chinese back at rock star pay. Absolutely rock star. In fact, there is a very good Spies, Lies and something. उसमें document करता है how they pick Nobel laureates, Turing Award winners, that kind of people and put them into these programs. और अगर Chinese नहीं मिले तो कोई और नहीं मिला तो Indian ही सही. But कोई आ जाए हमारी वो बनाने के लिए technology. And look at this. By 2019, 23, in this phase, 22, in this phase, 60, 65 USA. Now, today, China leads in 57 out of 65. Have you seen a more dramatic reversal of technology, leadership? And I think the only place where they are trailing is AI. AI में चाहे USA, most areas, robotics, you see military autonomy, deep seek को भी आप देख लो, पीछे हैं, but ज़्यादा पीछे नहीं. And the Americans were fooling themselves all this while. क्या? अरे यार ये कॉपी करते हैं. उसने तो इनोवेशन करके भी दिखा दिया. So, अच्छा, now if you go through that in detail, you'll find that the Indians, we are in the first 10 in 2. But across technologies, we are 3, 4, 5. So can we do a technology talent plan? Something like this, and do this technology reversals. So I've told you what the reality is, but we are poised. We are 3rd, 4th, 5th. अगर हमने अब तक जितनी बातें की हैं, deregulation, ये cultural changes हम करें, तो हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते? So of course we can. See, we are foolish. L1. Every country is open. National champion. Boeing, Lockheed is given orders. I told you how the Chinese startups are handheld to compete in the global market. तो ये सब करना है. if we do all this, if we deregulate, we certainly can do. But जो current हालत है मैंने आपको बता दिया क्या है. कि yesterday Galaxy has launched a satellite
From
OptoSAR. So now it's a very good move. So first time you have on a satellite optical and SAR capacity. If we had OptoSAR, Galwan would not have happened because it is persistent surveillance. ट्रम्प को तो यार पूरी दुनिया की खबर मिलती है स्पेस से. Why can't India do this? If I take this point anyway, बोलेंगे यार तुम बड़ी बातें मत करो. भारत बड़ी बातें करना कब शुरू करेगा? बड़ी बातें शुरू करोगे तभी तो कुछ होगा. What is so बड़ा in this? But यार छोड़ो. But anyway, OptoSAR satellite. Now look at the tragedy. Who has launched it? SpaceX. Why? PSLV doesn't have a similar orbital tech. I mean, why? 75 years? And I'll tell you one of the reasons. The military makes the biggest mistake by chasing ISRO. ISRO is not meant for military capacities. ISRO is for exploration like NASA. NASA doesn't give them space capacities. That comes from the US Space Force. So ये हम ऑफलाइन बात कर रहे थे. The ideation has to deepen. हमारी पहले तो सोच साफ होनी चाहिए. नहीं तो यही करते रहेंगे हम. Galaxy is good. But what really bothered me in that is that it is launching from SpaceX. अब क्या होगा? Today we are in a world, we are not looking for the F-35, but see, all platforms, today we are in the world of software-defined warfare. Software is defining hardware. तो मान लीजिए आपने F-35 ले लिया. F-35 के वीकली सॉफ्टवेयर अपडेट्स होते हैं. क्या करेगा ट्रम्प? That is why we need to think deep in all these issues. Also, the way technologies are moving in the software domain. And then we say we led in IT talent. So where are our software engineers? Why are we trailing in software?
Because probably the most of the people have gone out.
Gone out. या जो हमारी सोच ही है ना, सस्ता सुंदर टिकाऊ L1, बड़ी बातें मत करो. We have to start those conversations.
And also because of people who've moved out of India, there are people who've stayed back, but then they do not get the similar kind of talent back in the country.
So, Anushka, those who have moved out, we should say, come back. उन्होंने दिया रॉकस्टार पे. आ जाओ भाई प्लीज, आपको क्या चाहिए हम आपको देंगे.
उन्होंने रिवर्स ब्रेन ड्रेन कर लिया.
नहीं, हमारी तो उल्टी अकड़ है. I heard many people saying जाना है जाओ. तो गए. What is this? This is false hubris. Why जाना है जाओ? Indians हैं यार. You should say भाई रुक जाओ. We need you. What's the harm in saying that? And we have to have the humility to say, I'm not a coder. I can't do coding. There are talented people who can do coding.
So when it comes to Pakistan, now how does China benefit every time India gets dragged into the Pakistan issue? Because over the time, it has always been like, even you mentioned, ki it is a tactic held by China to divert India whenever India is either building something or going forward in some sort of trajectory. But where does it end? Like, what benefit is China getting out of it?
So I think there was one US ambassador to India, I'm forgetting his name. He told his own people that it is bad mathematics that time, or whatever the figures were, I don't know. But it is bad mathematics to alienate 143 crore Indians in favor of 12 crore or whatever. I don't know what Pakistan is. It's bad mathematics. But both Beijing and Washington excel in this bad mathematics. Why, I don't know. If I'm sitting in Beijing and my real competitor is USA, who should be my natural friend? India. Natural competitor तो USA है. दोस्ती कर लो 30 साल, फिर कर लेना दुश्मनी. But अभी से वो दुश्मनी करने में लगे. I have never understood. They have settled 11 border disputes, but they haven't settled with India. With Myanmar, they have settled it on the basis of the McMahon line. But they say McMahon line was a British creation when it comes to India. So yes, they don't want to settle it. Now, what is their strategic outlook? So I suspect with this strategic outlook, वो जब देखते हैं कि भाई who can be this great pinprick? Pakistan. So every time India gets strong, starts focusing, हाँ से कुछ करवा दो. Or do nudge and wink. I'm sure it is nudge and wink. Pakistan on its own will not have the guts to do this. The Americans do similarly. उस पे कुछ actual reasons हैं और कुछ वो हैं. When they thought we were being difficult, very recent, standing up, trade deal and all, Pakistan takes it. वो तो They are not a country of any standing. India can't do this kind of stuff. तो उसको Nobel Prize के लिए nominate कर दिया Raf साहब, you know. मतलब people talk of international relations. I'm saying the first principle of international relations is chaplaincy. It works so well. Trump on the basis. So that's how they play, and it's right through. They in Afghanistan they made themselves useful. They always make themselves useful because they have nothing else. India cannot do this stuff. We are a nation of gravitas. क्या मैं बोल सकता हूँ कि ट्रम्प को नोबेल प्राइज दे दो? मैं तो बोल ही नहीं सकता. So we can't do this. We have our own, we have a standing of our own and all. And Pakistan profits from that. That is one issue. The serious issue is what? You look at military diplomacy. You know who opened the doors of Washington to Shehbaz Sharif? Asim Munir. And why does Asim Munir do it? Firstly, in his earlier avatars as DG ISI and all, he networks with the Iranians. He networks with the Americans. He's on personal terms with them. And most critically, he hands over the terrorist who had killed Americans in that base in Afghanistan, airport, जब वो exit कर रहे थे. वो जो terrorist था, Asim Munir hands him over to General Kuruvilla, who's the boss of CENTCOM. Okay. And Kuruvilla carries the story for Trump, and Trump says, good guy, great field marshal. Then he brings him up Nobel Prize. Okay. I happened to be in Washington the same week that Trump was lunching Asim Munir. The problem was not Trump lunching Asim Munir. Asim Munir was the toast of Washington. All think tanks. India has underinvested in military diplomacy. So the lesson is we must step up in military diplomacy. We must have a 3-star in CENTCOM who does similarly, a 3-star in IPACOM. We punch below our weight. Brussels जो है, NATO headquarters है, EU headquarters है, we don't have a TA. So one is that question which shouldn't bother us. Right? Pakistan जो करना है करेगा वो तो हम कर ही नहीं सकते हैं. But जो हम कर सकते military diplomacy, we should step it up. If it works, in fact, one of the roles of the Chief of Defense Staff is military diplomacy. It matters. So both sides of the argument, and that is why Pakistan, it makes itself useful. They find it useful at times. Because even the Americans, many times, they propped up Pakistan because it's a rival to India. India is a power of consequence. तो पाकिस्तान उसके फायदे उठाता है, लोग पाकिस्तान के फायदे. That is the way geopolitics works.
Also, over time, just as you said in the course of this conversation, that Pakistan has won the narrative war while the war on the military front would have been won by somebody else. How do you think Pakistan manages to do that, and where does India lag behind in terms of controlling the global narrative?
So they have got an institution called the DGISPR. So that is a 3-star appointment who does on this day-to-day basis narration and all that. See, since you're from this space, you'll understand it well. It is not narration in isolation. Yeah. It has to be ideation, action, and narration. Yeah. So first, I think we have to get rid of our weaknesses in ideation. Think tanks matter. Respect academia. Respect thinking. I tell you, यहाँ क्या हाल है? हम बोलेंगे यार वो academia world से वो क्या बताएगा हमको? हम तो real world के हैं. The real world also needs academic inputs. Just as academics have to be aligned with the real world. The Bekofi ka argument. So you have to ideate. Then you will act. The military takes great pride in saying, oh, we only act. We don't do this silly ideation stuff or narration stuff. It's a misnomer. Then you have to narrate. It is equally important. They have a DGISPR. I've been arguing for a while, we should have a DG Stratcom in the office of the CDS. So one of our brightest 3-stars who understands the world of diplomacy, technology, world views, narrative building. It's not कि आप एक दिन उठ गए और आपने कर लिया. It's something you have to really respect. The world of information. You people understand it well. My lot doesn't understand it so well. So if you don't, you have to be all the more humble. Look at how sophisticated narratives are. China once again. So China for years told the world, peaceful rise. That we will rise, but it will be peaceful. That was a narrative for the world to soften their approach to China. Internally, क्या बोला उन्होंने अपने stakeholders को, military, bureaucracy, party functionaries. Well, it's a 100-year marathon. In 100 years, we have to beat USA. So no peaceful rise. These narratives are forked. So we should also have a narrative, Amrit Kal, Viksit Bharat. बट एक और नैरेटिव होना चाहिए कि इन्वेस्ट इन दीज इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स ताकि भारत सुरक्षित हो. भारत सुदृढ़ हो ही नहीं सकता जब तक सुरक्षित हो. सो these are, strategic communications are something long term, deep. We have to seriously believe in them. Our responses are fractured. They should create a DG Stratcom, as I said here. Perhaps in the NSCS, they should have, the National Security Council Secretariat, they should have somebody who looks at communication in a long term manner. For example, and they should be specialists. So, say people like you, if you're got into the office of the CDS or somewhere in the Ministry of Defense, you have to watch there. What are the conversations? What is happening? But you are better suited to take that stuff and weave it into a narrative. The other way around, that a military officer, though he understands that world well, he doesn't understand this world. So he's weak at weaving those narratives. DG ISPR does well because they've appointed him years back. Strategic communications are not just gaggling with the press. कि भाई आ गए दो चार सवाल. You have to be deeply interested कि भाई हमारा long term, what is our structure, our thought, our culture. Around that, the narrative has to be sophisticated. So we need to invest in it as a domain, which I think we have lacked.
Because when we talk about DGSPR, initially one thing that we, even from the media point of view, we noticed कि when the war, not exactly the war, the Operation Sindur began, entirely suddenly the narrative shifted globally from the Pakistan POV. And even despite all the, the media fiasco happening within both the nations, one thing everyone, even, American diplomats or even European diplomats told us in person, here it is very difficult for us to understand what is happening on ground. But the only thing they were claiming here, the point of view from the Pakistan side is rather more believable or rather more consumable. And again, that is something, as you mentioned, ki we have been lacking in terms of communication.
See, since you raised this, so let's talk of the Western. The Western narrative क्या है? कि भाई, we believe Pakistan. Pakistan is more believable. Why is it more believable? I don't understand. On the 10th of May, who was naked and who was secure?
India was
तो आप मेरे को बताते तो वो कैसे believable हो गए? तो you're choosing to believe them. You yourself are not believable. अच्छा, अगर आप इतने transparent हैं, आज बता दीजिए अमेरिका के कितने जहाज गिरे हैं. क्यों नहीं बता रहे हैं आप? Hypocrisy है ये. The same chaps I want to know. We didn't disclose it. Fine. You disclose. आप क्यों नहीं बताते? These are, I mean, you want to believe the Pakistanis, you want to believe the fools, you believe them. The proof of the pudding lies in the eating. Did we have losses? We would have had. Did we say we didn't? Because we don't, you don't, nobody does. So that is, the argument to that. But see, it's a very serious issue, narration. I'm just thinking, look at Trump. For all his faults, he gaggles with the press 3 times a day. And I think he's a smart cookie. He controls the narrative.
Yeah.
Through his early morning social media post. He sets the narrative. He's not such a fool. And the whole world keeps responding through the day. And also see their system. And there, one of the press conferences, which country will it happen? A journalist asks him, he says, Mr. President, to use the B word and the F word. किया था ना एक पोस्ट में, doesn't look nice, this, that. So he says, no, those chaps are animals and they deserve it. Trump कहता है. So he persists with the question and says, sir, that may be your view. But a lot of Americans think that you are mentally ill and you need a checkup. And he answers that question. Which country in the world will a journalist ask the president that president answer? ये भी उनको मानना पड़ेगा. And yet he goes into that gaggle 3 times a day. वो तो जहाज से उतरता है, and he goes to. He's not a fool. He is shaping the narrative. And what is the narrative he's most worried about? He couldn't be bothered about the world. It's his MAGA base. जब तक MAGA base उसके साथ है, वो सब, he'll take on everything. So that's how you look at it. I was just thinking back. Sometimes narratives come from just personas. Sam Manekshaw was a brilliant communicator.
Yeah.
Just one man. If you go into our sphere, you see General Padmanabhan did a press conference in Prague. Brilliant. One conversation. If you see Kargil, General Bikram Singh, who later became chief, he was a brigadier, along with the foreign office diplomat. Right. They did a wonderful press conference. They were ahead of the game. So it comes from people within. So it is far more complex. Sometimes the persona does it, sometimes the institution does it, but the narrative is exceedingly important. In Sindur, we'll have to admit that our narration was weak. For some reason, then we didn't invest. In fact, I think the CDS has openly admitted it, and he said that we must strengthen our narration. That's a good point. Our narration was weak. But it comes from personas, it comes from institutions. It is also a kind of hunch or a kind of unique trait. There are good communicators and they are not. And communication is not just good English or good Hindi. It has to be substance. You have to understand that. You should know how to spin it. And now it's getting so complicated. Even I find it difficult to keep pace. There is a distinct way of communicating through print, through digital platforms. Social media is a new generation. True. I mean, I may think I speak great English, but वो social media बोलेंगे बकवास कर रहा है अंग्रेजी मारने है. I have to relate to them. So it's a constant challenge. 2 points come to my mind. We were discussing offline. Should communications be strategic like TikTok? Look at TikTok. It's just not a fun app. The Chinese control the algorithm, which has shaped audience responses in Gaza and all these conflicts. And therefore, when Trump came to power, he thought he will block TikTok. He hasn't done it this way till today because his base is on TikTok. And I told where it is stuck now is that the Chinese are saying you can own it.
Yeah.
The company can be yours, but we will control the algorithm. So we should start thinking in those ways. One is the baatcheet, one is the, press gaggle, controlling the narrative. Also the strategic stuff. Why doesn't India think of a Indian version of a TikTok, which will also influence global audiences? So it's a very complex challenge, and I think we need to invest in.
Time and again, we've seen in the news about drugs coming into the country through the borders from Pakistan side, from Nepal side, from Bangladesh side, even people's movement, and also arms smuggling. How safe are Indian borders actually at the present time?
So see, drugs is a very serious problem. In fact, you have someday call a woman called Rami Desai. Have you heard of her? She's done some great work on it. And why I say great work? She has actually walked these places. She's been there and she writes greatly. And I've had a conversation with India Foundation. Mein, na?
Yes.
So she's talking of this triangle in the area of Myanmar and all. They have repurposed the whole drug trade there. They have made it, modern. And you have to realize that it is, once you have drugs, you don't need a defense budget. It's a huge budget. So, say in the area of Myanmar, it is creating a new national security reality because the drugs, they fund arms. Many of those arms came to Manipur, they fund drones, cross-border flows. So drugs is a huge menace, and you have to see, because I've got some knowledge. In fact, the Home Minister once, I think recently made a statement that our next war is on drugs. Look at Trump. What is that thing about the American? What is that meta something? A Chinese. They've been finding it is a tool of statecraft. The Chinese are using it to dumb the American youth. Right. I wouldn't be surprised if inimical powers are using it to do. Look at Punjab.
Yeah.
I'm from a Sikh regiment. I mean, I was commissioned into a Sikh regiment. The Sikhs should be such dynamic, boisterous people. Today you see the youth and you can see there is a problem of drugs. When I was commanding the corps in Bathinda, these drugs were coming across in drones. It just began. And people denied it. Drones mein to ho hi nahi sakta. So it is actually becoming a problem. And we really have to look. I'm glad you pointed it out. It is becoming a problem to the point of it being a national security reality. And it's not drugs alone. So drugs will always work with insurgent groups. And they will, work with terrorists. So there's a nexus. If China wants to destabilize you from the east,
Hmm.
the drug triangle is a very good place to start it off from because it becomes non-state. So the state uses it as a, and it is in this gray zone that we are a little weak because we in national security tend to look at it from shades of black and white, where these are all in gray. It's not open war against you, but these are those simmering wars. So I'm glad you raised it, and that bring me to the second point. That I'm of the firm view. What is this term called porous border? I mean, if you are a nation state, why should you have a porous border? Anybody legal must be welcomed. Anything illegal should not be allowed in. Otherwise, what's the point of having borders? Asha, I've heard these arguments. Ki, sir, there are populations this side, that. The LAC was that. Our villages are so made, there will always be population this side, that side. And the crooks will always use that. We were told at one time the J&K border cannot be sealed. It should be totally sealed. We have now technology on that borders, and therefore the infiltration has gone down greatly. We've done the same thing in Punjab. So once and for all, we must find the money and seal our borders. Bangladesh, Myanmar, so that all legal entry happens and illegal entry just doesn't happen. What is so difficult about sealing borders? We just should do it. So I just quite don't understand this term called porous borders. And even if there are villages on either side, once you seal those borders, all legitimate entry should be allowed. But why saying the terrain doesn't allow us? There couldn't be any worse terrain than the valley, J&K. I've seen it in the area I commanded, 19, Dave 20. They're the worst areas. You have fenced them nice and proper. So you have fenced them. Some of that fencing is resilient enough to withstand the snow. What is not is rebuilt. And then you have a whole architecture on that fence. It's just not that you leave it. It is patrolled. It is oversighted by humans. It is oversighted by technologies. Today you have HHTIs, drones, space. You must be able to protect your borders. So I very feel strongly about this. And look what's happening in this area of Myanmar and all. Abhi, after the new government in Bangladesh with the BNP government, it has stabilized. Otherwise, people use it as a tool of statecraft. The DGISI traveled to Dhaka 3 times over the last 4 months. What are they doing there? The Turkish Minister of Defense was in Dhaka. So obviously, Asim Munir said the next terror attack will be from the east. So we have to be very, sensitive to these issues. And they are linked. Any instability of this kind, for example, when the Myanmar government weakened, obviously drug cartels came in and people play for influence in that world. Ramit, I will tell you that in that area, suddenly the Indian newspapers started disappearing and Chinese newspapers came free. So they will all feed into each other. Drugs, influence, and there are larger games afoot. Myanmar is very rich in rare earths. So the Americans are in. Right. That whole corridor, what is that? Rakhine corridor. The whole aim was this. So these are very sophisticated moves, and therefore we have to be sensitive to them. Certainly along the east, that Myanmar instability or any chaos instability will be fueled. And if you don't wake up in time, then it will become like J&K. So we have to act early, fence it, also patrol it. No fence will work unless it is patrolled. Means by humans, by Assam rifles or Rashtriya rifles. You just have to do it.
So, do you think after the now government change in Bengal, the situation would be better?
I think so, because for various reasons, I think the TMC government had some issues with giving land there and all that.
The border areas.
Yes, I think that should get sorted out. And overall, we must see, I mean, irrespective of political affiliation, we should be able to make this conversation and say, national security is paramount. It should be above politics of this kind. And I cannot understand why borders should not be sealed. What do you understand by porous border? Look what happened in 2611. I mean, a maritime border was infiltrated. So the first purpose of a state is to secure your borders. All immigrants, legal immigrants, should be allowed. But why should any illegal immigrant be allowed? Because it leads to all these kind of problems. And that's the great lesson in the United States. And Trump's whole thing is about the borders, borders, borders. So we should wake up till it becomes such a challenge that you find it too difficult to. And drugs, you are right, in various forms. I'm not a specialist on that, but as I said, call Rami and all. She'll give you the details of how those drug empires have been built, how they are being used for chaos, instability. And my conclusion from that was that it is a national security reality. So we have to wake up to it.
When we talk about neighbors, we consider Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar, China, Pakistan, and all these. All of them have a problem somewhere or the other that affects India. Now, Nepal has asked to cancel the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra yesterday because they claim the Lipu Lake Pass and the region around it. Their current PM is aiming for a greater Nepal area. Bangladesh has been hostile roughly after Sheikh Hasina left. And Myanmar already is under a coup. Same goes with Sri Lanka, which is obviously way towards inclined towards China. How do you think internally the Indian government as well as the military sees it, and how can we mold it in a manner here to I don't know, make sure कि it does not affect us after a line एक line है हमारे पास. अगर ज़्यादा अफेक्ट करने लग जाएगा तो शायद वो इंटरनल हमारे यहाँ भी chaos क्रिएट करेगा.
So let's look at it from all the lenses that you mentioned. So let's look at it from the geopolitical lens. All big powers are very conscious of the fact that their periphery must be stable. There should be no inimical forces in the stability. I know the Americans were accusing the Chinese now of being rough in the neighborhood. In their own time, they have waged war against Canada, Mexico. They've been far more ruthless. Caribbean, far more ruthless. This Monroe Doctrine is a copy of the Monroe Doctrine, which is what? Neither will Europe come to our area, nor will any inimical influence. So what's happened in Venezuela? I'm telling you, they'll do Cuba. So they are very conscious of it. So that's one model. Chinese have a lot of the first island chain. Imagine if Andaman, Nicobar, Lakshadweep was held by countries inimical to us. It's not the case in our case. They have them right there. Japan, South Korea, Philippines, they are American allies. America is funding them with arms, ammunitions. So peripheries are difficult for everybody. But there is no doubt that the Chinese are playing mischief in our periphery. And our neighbors, they will always be smart. They will play both sides. So kuch China says, so kuch. So that is one geopolitical reality. The second is, just from the strategic viewpoint, this theater commands you would have heard of. Theater commands is just not about air power. It is also about hemispheric influence. So we have an appointment called the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, that was raised after the Kargil Review Committee to make sure that Indian influence, shall we say, filtered into your periphery. So hemispheric influence, you must have a positive influence in your immediate periphery. So that should be the grand strategic military idea. Now, it's always not possible for a host of reasons. So you can handle it through the DIA, intelligence, you can handle it through military diplomacy, you can handle it through normal diplomacy, aid. There are opportunities. As US aid contracts, this is a time for India to step in. We should step in far greater manner than what the Chinese are doing. We've also made some mistakes in the past. For example, Sri Lanka, when it was in deep trouble, to the LTTE, we said we don't give non-lethal aid. Which military wants, they said we don't give lethal aid. We said we don't give lethal aid, we only give non-lethal aid. Which military wants non-lethal aid? Everybody wants. So we played that moral card far too much, which was, in hindsight, a little silly. Nepal, we did the same thing. So we should get over that. These are 3-4 issues. But the fact of the matter is that both sides will play you. Now, there you have to be very smart in your diplomacy, which I'm sure our diplomats are, but in many areas we can do better. But the fundamental point is this, and this we have to be honest. Our power should inspire respect and not either fear or resentment. That is what we have to be conscious of. And many times I wonder, when we have been pretty generous and magnanimous, somehow our power has inspired resentment. What is wrong? Now you hear various things from diplomats.
Okay.
For example, many people in Nepal think that we have been too majestic in our diplomacy, not, peopleish enough. So ये सब चीजें हैं. As we grow as a power, we have to fine tune all these dimensions. So I'm saying military, foreign policy is a two-sided coin, force and diplomacy. Use both. You can be a good diplomat only when you know that you have the strength of an aircraft carrier behind you. So power, force, diplomacy have all to be skillfully. And here I think along the neighborhood, there have been some pluses, there have been some minuses. Now something surprised you. Bangladesh, along with Myanmar, was really becoming a grim national security reality. But after Mr. Rahman has come to power, the BNP things seem to have quietened down suddenly. He's looking for a positive relationship with India because he knows India is India. I mean, we have great influence, we have great impact on their economy.
Right.
They are landlocked. So those kind of issues. They have their domestic consequences. I mean, I was reading one of the reasons for the BJP winning in Bangladesh is because of the battering that the Hindus took in Bangladesh. So there was sympathy of that kind. So obviously there are huge connects. Some of them are of great strategic importance, like the whole Siliguri corridor business.
Right.
I mean, Bangladesh, Bengal and all, Sikkim are very important. So the periphery, there are issues of statecraft, geopolitics, politics, all have to be seen. You have to play your cards. Nepal, I mean, I find him a fascinating character, Balan Shah. He was a rapper, isn't he?
Rapper, yeah.
From a rapper, he becomes Kathmandu mayor. And now, see, what I think suspect will happen under him, he has an independent streak. So Nepalese foreign policy will not follow those traditional lines of, taking infrastructure from China, taking other stuff from India. And therefore, this independent path, I mean, this Lipu Lake business, are those streaks of independence. But these are early days. Ultimately, he'll have to settle for the fact that India is India.
Right.
And some of we have to be respectful of his politics. He has to be respectful of our interests. I think the bottom line should be this, that while all our neighbors are entitled, I mean, they're sovereign countries to do their own politics, make their own choices, but also realize that you are India's neighbor. Nothing can be done here which is inimical to our interests.
Exactly.
So I think that has to be. Beyond that, there are a whole lot of complications. I would also note that these are all, look how and I think in Indian context, we have to consider it. What happened in Nepal was youth driven. What happened in Bangladesh was youth driven. What happened in Sri Lanka was youth driven. We have to be far more conscious of the aspirations of our youth. See, with the youth, it's like this. For a long time, nothing happens, and then suddenly something happens.
Exactly.
So we have to be very careful of this, jobs, their aspirations, their disaffections. I think that would need a lot of smart politics to be conscious of that. I'm not saying that politicians are not, but sometimes we get insensitive. Look what happened in Nepal all of a sudden. Look what happened in Bangladesh. Whether it was orchestrated from abroad, God knows, it's complicated geopolitics, because when Hasina was there, 4 days, and the Chinese who were friends, suddenly she had to cut short her visit. So was it influence from there?
Yeah.
So God knows, these are very, difficult issues. So there is a whole cocktail happening, and that it is happening with the youth. I mean, should we also have stronger, shall we say, youth exchanges? So the youth wing of the BJP should interact with the political setups there. These are all questions worth examining. But the hemisphere is pretty serious business. And as India grows in powerhood, I think it'll become more and more important. How we keep our periphery friendly, how we keep it stabilized.
Now let's talk about Trump for a bit. First, what do you think about him? The statements that he makes by the day usually change by the night. And how do you think is India dealing with this roller coaster of relations with the US?
You see, Trump is a very complicated character. But how does Trump become a reality? That also has to be seen. I think both successive Republican and Democrat administrations failed to take note of what Trump took. Smart politician, ground to the ear. He first, in this whole phase when globalization was happening, I think what happened was that the benefits of globalization was going to the techno-economic elite, those who played the stock market well, those who understood the financial markets well. They were profiting. But America was deindustrialized. Their jobs were going, factories were going, and the Chinese were coming in everywhere. And this so-called Rust Belt, Trump noticed it, the others didn't. And he plays those cards. When he says, I will reindustrialize America, when he says climate change is a hoax, what he means is that perhaps he was right. Drill, baby, drill. You need oil. Look at how important oil has become. And we were told, no, data is the new oil. Trump said, no, oil is oil. So he was pretty smart in those kind of political judgments. The whole MAGA movement is that make America great again. I mean, this business of, they point out, I'm just talking from their perspective, that Maduro in our neighborhood cocking a snook at us, and we are the world's most powerful. This argument that why do you have a $950 billion military if you can't use it? So he says that I enabled the military in my first term and I'm using it in my second term. So these are some issues about it. Now, some of the other things that he says are noxious, civilizational erasure. I mean, how can you talk like that? So it's very difficult to judge Trump in those terms. Sometimes he's obnoxious. Sometimes he seems very reasonable. Abhi jo usne kiya hai, ye blockade wala, what is he saying? All past American presidents made the mistake of beyond air power getting trapped in a ground war. He has not done that. The air power, हमने आपकी नेवी तबाह कर दी, air force तबाह कर दी. We have given you a message that don't mess with us. But now the point you pointed out when I heard Marco is saying epic fury as a military operation has ceased, but this whole freedom business is what? He says there are ships stuck there. I think it's a smart move. There are ships stuck there. Iran is saying that to get out, we'll take a toll. He's saying it's an international waterway. You will not take a toll. Unacceptable. We will create this air and maritime bubble, take the ships out along that transit lane closer to Oman. We will show the way. But the broader messaging is what? Trump is in touch with the Western allies. He's saying, you need that oil more than me. My oil is self-sufficient. We are helping you. Now please come in. And if the larger navies come in, then it will become the world versus Iran. Iran blockading and the world saying that not America alone. So I think this bit they are doing smartly without getting dragged into those boots on the ground. Iraq, Afghanistan, 20 saal. What the Americans cannot handle is American body bags. They can't handle one hostage. Imagine one American hostage every day on TV, what it will done to the narrative there. So that's why those two guys, they took them out. And now they are saying, we'll block it. Your oil will not go out, $450 million a day. I mean, look at Iran. Iran has got 70% inflation, $450 million a day. That dollar is, I think, million reals to a dollar. Look at the currency situation. So Iran is resilient. It has done well. I mean, they are taking on the military superpower. But there are thresholds of pain. How far can Iran bear it? When Trump, they are, a blockade on the blockade, so your oil is not getting out. And now that they get the other stuff out. And if the others step in, I mean, those are the calls Trump is making that come. And if it becomes a larger Western, non-Iranian armada, the tables may well turn. But Trump is pretty complicated. That other bit, I'm quite sure his ultimate aim on the chessboard is China. So this is America. They are saying, we will go to the Pacific. But before that, we will cleanse our periphery of all interests inimical to us. We'll also sort out this regional hegemon, Iran, which is creating problems for us. Russia, Europe, you handle it. You're rich enough, spend. That's what he says. Right. Increase your defense budget. We will take care of USA because the ultimate argument in this Cold War 2.0 will be settled in the first island chain between China and USA. I think that is the larger geopolitics. So Trump should be taken seriously, but not literally. But some of that conversation that he does is deliberate. When he uses crass words, it's placed to his base. He's trying to say, oh, these intellectuals, they keep intellectualizing. I am the first president who acted. Six didn't. Everybody was against the nuclear weapon. I acted. I'm not justifying Trump. I'm just trying to explain Trump to you. He says Obama prioritized Iran over Israel. I'm prioritizing Israel over Iran. Those are the arguments. Now, he is a difficult president. Those who don't like him have awful things to say about him, but he's certainly a very different president. America has not seen such a president for years. I mean, somebody who he stopped all those files in America. He works through social media. You know, McMaster, his national security advisor, in the first term, has written a biography. The first chapter of that biography is "You're hired." The second chapter is "You're fired."
Oh.
But he makes some other points. He says whenever he would travel abroad, and we would send him those 5, 6 dossiers, of economy, technology, relationships, history, this, that. He would set it aside and say, tell me two things. What is our trade balance? And how much does that country spend on defense? He judges countries by these two metrics. Now, it's a pretty smart way of looking at things. कि भाई trade क्या है? Imbalance क्या है? आप हमको कितना बेवकूफ बना रहे हो in his understanding? Stop making a monkey out of us. And what are you spending on defense? Because if you don't spend on defense, you're not a serious country. That's the way Trump looks at the world. Are you strong enough? And the American equation. So this is his way. I mean, look at his argument. His argument is that tariffs will get us such revenues that we'll abolish income tax. Now, that is the Trumpian view. I don't know how much it will succeed. With India, I think, this whole Trump MAGA's argument is that if you're a friend, prove it. Do everything that we say. Now, India is not like that. We say strategic autonomy. We will take our own decisions. We are not Pakistan. We can't recommend you for the Nobel Prize. We will not do all that stuff. If you want a relationship with us, we will come halfway, but you have to come halfway. With Trump, I think that is the problem. He says, no, do everything that I say. So I don't see, the Indian-US relationship flowering much in the balance of the Trump administration. But I do want to make this point that a technologically enabled, strong India, that's all we need from you. We don't need your blood. We don't need your treasure. We just need your technology. And a technologically enabled India is in the American self-interest. Because we are the only country which can balance China. So we will not do it at your bidding. We will do it at our bidding.
Because at one point, there is threats of tariff. And on the other, obviously, US is a defense partner, a leading defense partner for India. I guess we export one of the highest number to US. And in terms of general things and defense, we intake a lot of things. Now, how do you see कि this relationship, obviously chaos है, बहुत problematic भी है under Trump, it might not flourish a lot, but was it similar under Biden or the previous governments?
No, it was different. I mean, see, one good thing about the Americans is that they don't keep their cards very close to their chest. So the Deputy Secretary of State, I'm forgetting his name, and Raisina, he said openly that we made a mistake with the Chinese. We helped them rise to their current position. We will not make the same mistake with India. He said it openly.
Yes.
So he's telling you openly that भाई हम आपकी मदद नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि you are powerful. I told you we are number 3. So from the American standpoint, why should they help us becoming powerful and once pose a threat to the Americans themselves? That's geopolitics. But I would also urge them to consider this, that we don't need anything from you, buddy. All that we need is technology. That's the only thing that you're ahead of. And if you give that technology to us, together can we balance China? Is that in your interest? So I'm saying no favors. Just look at it from cold geopolitics. Should we come together to balance China? I'm making that argument. And you were just speaking of our arms dependency, should we call it. Now, see, that is an Indian weakness. And that is the whole salience of Atmanirbharta in defense. We have to get self-sufficient. Till we get self-sufficient, Our inventory is pretty diverse. It's just not the Americans. So it is the French. The Russians have been very good friends to us. Let's not forget that.
That's right.
Russians have been great friends. 71, Indo-Soviet Friendship Treaty. So Russians have been great friends in many of these strategic areas. We can't forget that, no matter what Trump says.
Exactly.
And the French are there. There are many European partners. USA would be very welcome. So basically, the US, there are two worldviews in the United States. I think Condoleezza Rice, the previous Secretary of State, said that a rising India is in the American self-interest. Now you have the Deputy Secretary of State saying that we won't make the mistake. So you make up your mind. I would agree with Condoleezza Rice. So there's no favors here. If it is in your interest, you will come together. But I see that there's a lot that can be done in technology. In the Biden era, when the Prime Minister went, they signed that agreement which spoke of from the seas to the stars. I mean, technology across, so quantum, trust, compact, a lot of good stuff can be done in AI, quantum, autonomy, robotics. See, look at that. We have some very talented people. So why can't it be an Indian startup, an American prime, funded by a VC? It can be also non-government, outside government. Indians are talented. The Americans are innovative. Why should we not come together? So I'm going beyond the values argument. I'm saying the real transactional world. There's a lot of stuff we could do together. But we are strong enough. If it doesn't work, we have many other options. There's Japan, there's South Korea, there is Europe. So I think that's the way we look at, we should look at that relationship. I personally would be happy if the Indo-American relationship gets sticking, at least on the technology front. But strategic autonomy is a very wise thing. We should not forsake that because you never know what Mr. Trump might think tomorrow or tweet there.
So, given that you've served in the army for over 40 years and you're currently serving in another committee, what sort of young Indians are we looking at that you wish ki in the next 20 years we should build a generation of what thinking?
So see, that's a big question. I think much of it is beyond my pay grade, but it's a useful question to reflect on. At this point of time, what does India need? In my view, at this point of time, we need a lot of private sector startup, just not entities. The whole energy, the business agility which comes from private sector startups, that whole innovative thing. I think off the line, or we were just discussing, my father actually told me, beta system mein raho, don't rock the boat. Today's youth are confident enough of rocking the world. As I said, Eric Schmidt, if he says that, I'm lucky to be in a country where there is so much money to nurse all our crazy ideas. We have the wealth to give our young, the talented, to nurse their ideas, not only in terms of money, in deregulation, in, just letting their poise grow. I think we have come to that point. Say there are 100 Indians. If out of these 100 Indians, 50 are heading for government jobs, I don't think it's a very good sign. Out of 100 Indians, 80 should be making companies.
Right.
And 20 should be doing government jobs. And I'm not saying government jobs, you need good people in the government also.
Definitely.
But it is this whole economic vibrancy, technological poise, which we need much more. And those in many areas is delivered outside government. Why don't we have a Silicon Valley? What's happening in the Silicon Valley? Every day, one startup pushing the other to higher levels of excellence, that competition. Those we have Bangalore and all, but it's doing more of the back end stuff, isn't it? I constantly wonder, why did our natural lead in IT not convert into a lead in AI? That should have been the natural progression, but somehow it did not happen. We have 23 IITs. How many Nobel laureates in the 75 years? Are we pushing the frontiers of science? And if somebody else is pushing the frontiers of science, it is that somebody else which will profit. So, in that sense, I think it's both a challenge for our youth. They should push these areas, deep technologies. I mean, IITians are making internet apps to deliver pizzas. Should they be pushing deep technologies? And why are they not encouraged to push deeper? Are we creating the ecosystem? What is our spend on R&D? How much do we value ideation? Look, technology is just seen, technology is just seen here as a piece of coding, technical stuff. There's a guy called Chris Miller who's written a book on the geopolitics of chips. Read it. Firstly, when I picked up that book, I was fascinated that there can be such a topic, geopolitics of chips. And you read it. There is geopolitics of AI. There's a book being written on AI. Look at the combination. Henry Kissinger, diplomat, nothing to do with AI. Eric Schmidt and Daniel Lockenhocker, who is the professor in computing. So pure science, Eric Schmidt, technology, and Kissinger coming together and writing a book on AI. That tradition is not there. Dan Wang has written a book on China, where he has analyzed why the Chinese are doing so well because they are a country of technologists, scientists, and the Americans are doing so badly because they are a country of lawyers, litigating everything. Now, that's an argument, but it needs examination. How many of such books are coming out in India? That deep ideation, deep technology. So, one, this is a challenge for the youth. Two, are we encouraging them to go down that path? How are we resourcing them? It's a combination of all those areas. And the last point is, see, this is not an endless opportunity. What is Amrit Kal? Amrit Kal is the next, 20 years? Because if you don't do it quickly in these 20 years, you'll grow old before you grow rich.
Right.
So it's just not the endless opportunity waiting for us. कि हम हौले हौले कुछ कर दें. So we have to grasp all these realities. And certainly, I mean, the future lies in the youth, and all these issues have to be seen.
Moving away a little bit from the holistic points and focusing once again on military, we have countries like South Korea, Russia, Israel, where military service is compulsory. Do you see that as an option for India?
I mean, why should you do it? India has a voluntary military. We are not short of people. And the voluntary chaps are doing very well. In fact, I would make a different argument altogether. Or you will answer this poser of mine. National security is becoming a game of high talent. We don't want mediocrity. Everything is happening in national security today is becoming a confluence of geopolitics, diplomacy, technology, military. It needs a very deep understanding. So I'm saying national security in the broader sense, just not military defense. We need the best minds. The Ministry of Defense should have some very fine technological minds. It should have some technological geeks, some civil servants and military. Israel has two units, 8200, 9300. What do? They pick up the smartest talent out of colleges and schools, the best. They get them to unit 8200, 300, pay them well, and no kinds of restrictions. So you want to leave after 1 year not happy, please go. You want to leave 3, go. But all these people, some go to the Silicon Valley, somebody sets up a company, 8200, 9300 is constantly in touch with them. So 9 years later, you might be doing very well in Silicon Valley. They'll get in touch with you. Can you do something for us? हमारे यहाँ restrictions हैं. Bonds sign करो. Everything is there. They let you grow. And the best thing is, they don't teach theoretical classes there. They say your class is to take out Nasrullah. Work on it, on a cyber project. Or cyber. How do we jam Tehran before those guys? So you're working on real life projects. So if you leave that place, many of them are top CEOs in Israeli companies working on surveillance.
Right.
But it is essentially an ecosystem of talent, youthful talent. Do we need to create such places in India?
100%.
So I think that is the whole argument we should be looking at. Youth, talent, skilling for the rest. I mean, each to his kind. Everybody is not a top intellectual mind, so they should be skilled. But certainly the youth need far greater attention because they can be very good, very productive, very useful, also be dangerous, as we have seen in various countries. And we have no option because I think we are in a demographic sweet spot. We just have to make far greater use of our youth.
So when it comes to youth and military, now in the last budget, India's military, budget has been a highlight. Okay, that is the highest India has ever gone, and I guess it happens every year. When compared to other nations, currently India is, I guess, sitting at fifth highest spender, fourth or fifth. At the moment, Germany just increased there, so they moved to the fourth position. Where are we not investing? Is there something that we're missing? Ki, okay, there's obviously arms, there's air force that needs to be built, there is navy warships and everything. Where are we missing?
So, see, if you're talking of how we should do our force structuring, what budget should do our force structuring, I think we are at an inflection point.
Hmm.
What recent wars tell us, and we discuss some of that, is that war fighting is moving away from platforms to wraparound technologies, software, AI. That's the big push we need to make. So, if you study our budget today, what are we spending on? If we are spending merely on tanks and artillery and fighter platform, it is important. But if we are spending merely on that, then we are preparing for the last war, not for the next war. If we are spending on data readiness, cloud infrastructure, algorithmic warfare, AI, how many AI engineers are we hiring? How many data engineers are we inducting? And if we are spending on these, then we are preparing for the next. So it's a pivotal moment. We have to make that switch. And the biggest problem in change in India is कि सब ठीक तो चल रहा है. So it is only the very smart who realize ठीक चल रहा है जब तक नहीं चलेगा. One fine day you will realize, look at the US Navy. So lethal, so powerful, 3 aircraft carriers, but it cannot enter the strait because it is not small enough, not agile enough, not unmanned enough. So big is suddenly not lethal or not lethal enough. So the whole trick is to get increasing lethality at lower cost. That will come from innovation, from talent. So one is within existing allocation. So I'm told it's about 2 lakh crores. My point is that at least 50% of this should be being spent on these technologies and not platforms. Not only is the character of war changing, the business modeling is changing. So the means of delivery now are agile startups. I can name them for you: Palantir, SpaceX. There are 2, 3 logics, Ukrainian startups which are beating the world.
They even, they have begun supplying drones and everything.
Last month, the Russians fired a AI-enabled, lethal, fully autonomous drone, which means that targets are being selected by drones. They are being engaged by drone. Humans out of the loop. Out of the loop. That's where warfare is moving. Because if you use AI and I don't, you'll beat me in the OODA cycle, which is observe, orient, decide, act. I'm losing the war. I have no option but to get into AI. The Americans engaged these 15,000 targets in Epic Fury. It would not have happened without Claude. Claude over Maven. Maven is that AI-enabled command control system. Claude is the Anthropic.
Right.
Because you are now doing targeting packages at machine speed. We used to do it at human speed. उसको plot करो target कितना दूर है, कितना time लगेगा. एक target को dissect करने में 12 घंटे लगते थे. Today you're doing it at machine speed. Do we have to firstly admit that these are the new realities and now work towards them? So we need a cultural change, a structural change. And within existing allocations, are we doing it on the right stuff? Having done that, the other reality is also to be seen. If China is spending $450 billion more than us, we have to increase allocations. See, deterrence people say is costly. I say wars are costlier. Don't believe me? Ask the Ukrainians. Should they have spent on deterrence? So this is statecraft. You have to keep balancing this business of how. I'm making a strong argument that we take out a economic survey every year. Why should it be only economics? It should be integrated. It should be a survey of economics and strategic matters. So you have to balance what you need. You have to balance resourcing with your needs. And they are all related to periods in your strategic evolution. If our periphery was peaceful, you get the spending down to 0.5%. But when it is not,
You hike it up.
you have to spend it. It cannot be percentage of GDP. It has to be a factor of the strategic calculus. Of course, GDP is related, but it has to be strategic calculus.
Also, today on the 6th of May 2026, what do you feel is the biggest weakness that the Indian Army has?
So we discussed the weakness in the beginning that, as I would say, Sindur, we've done well. Let's not say weakness, but put it more positively, challenge. Challenge is to complete this national security maybe. You started in 14, you've done well. Sindur was a good benchmark. It should be a springboard. I'll quickly point out combat asymmetry. Look at that. Algorithmic warfare has arrived. Right. Today, small, scaled up, attritable, cheap platforms are doing better than the exquisite platforms. Make that swivel. Business modeling. Are you giving more orders to startups, private sector? And not because anything wrong with the PSUs. First, either you smarten up, like the Chinese SOEs have done. But you today, when innovations are being delivered in weeks, you can't have a procurement, there's a thing called RFP, request for proposal, come out in 2 years or in 1 year. In 1 year, the technologies have changed. Right. Every week they are changing. So these procurement models, business modeling, I mean, you make these 4, 5, 6 changes, it will take you a decade. There was the Shahed drone. Iran gives it to Russia. Russia perfects it. That Shahed drone today has created havoc in the Gulf. And Americans have had to eat humble pie. They have taken the Shahed drone, reverse engineered it, and deployed it as Lucas in the Gulf. India, I'm saying, should churn out 5 lakh Shahed drones next year, 30,000 crores. But to do it, you need a whole shift in our thinking, procurement, file. But हमने ये कर दिया. These are our challenges. We have, I mean, look at our soldiers, extraordinary bravery. They are valorous. They need to be resourced in these terms. These technologies, these capacities have to reach our fleets and formations. They cannot be hanging around in files. So that's our challenge. We are doing, there is intent. We need to scale it up, make it faster. All these reforms. I think the whole national security makeover, which I say, which has begun but which needs to be completed, is our big challenge.
As we come to the end of this podcast, I just want to have one small, more of something that everyone has been asking across the internet. That do soldiers on the border get affected by internal conflicts, political statements, and be it riots, be it statements by people across the internet? Because obviously we are a country of 150 crores. There is different opinions about everyone, and how is it consumed by the people at the border who rather safeguard these people?
So 3, 4 thoughts come to my mind. Firstly, all over the world, and also in India, we have kind of used politics as a derogatory term. Politics. But politics is integral to all countries. And without politics, there would be nothing. So politics will be there. Sam Manekshaw said it beautifully. He said the Indian army is deeply politically conscious, but not consciously politically committed. Look what the argument was, that we understand all politics. We know politics plays, but we have taken a conscious choice that we will not be politically committed. Was it wise? I suppose so. The Pakistanis took the exact opposite view, that we will be politically committed. So they have the power, but at what cost? Right? They have 5 plots, but I don't think they have the respect that an Indian general has, because you kept out of politics consciously. It's an elevated concept. And so therefore, down the line today, we have a lot of respect. So that's the politics part. But of course, you will get influenced. You're a part of families where these discussions take place. So the first point is there. The second point is there. May I make one more point? At least in this reform thing, I have this observation. We've always said political will nahi hai. Today, I find the political will is ahead of the civil, military, technological, administrative. bureaucracies. The government is saying make theatre commands, we are saying और समय चाहिए. Government is saying DRDO reform करो, हम कहें नहीं हो सकता नहीं. So is it really political will? Perhaps that calculus has also changed. So we have to be honest about it. And the last point I want to make is, see, the Indian Army's regimental system is so strong, it is impervious to politics. So how does it play out? See, I'm a Hindu Brahmin. I get commissioned into a Sikh regiment. And the tradition there is that you adopt the religion of your troops. So I go to the Gurdwara, I'm presented with a Saropa, I listen to the Gurbani it's a parade, it's a Mandir parade, Gurdwara parade. I go there and you gradually start identifying with your troops through religion. So I'm saying Indian Army is a religious organization. It's not secular in that sense, but religion becoming secular. It's a very complicated concept. Before we go for firing, you do the ardas. There is a war cry before you attack. It is religious. We are not impervious to religious, but religious in a very different way. One of my COs, a non-Sikh, punished a Sikh officer in my unit because he had trimmed his beard. It is against the tenets of Sikhism. Right? Look at this. Non-Sikh officer punishes a Sikh officer. The regimental strength is so much that it makes it impervious to politics. The SM will tell you very simplistically, ki, sir, CO saab ka hukum hai. It's like God's orders. It works like that. But the CO is equally morally bound to ensure that he never commits his troops to a situation where they're not resourced. And there are lots of instances where people have said yes, no, paid by their careers. And I know it. So in that sense, it is a very different organization. That whole ethos, regimental, it is one of trust. If you were my subordinate in a battalion, I would give you an order and say, Yashodhar, go. There is that post, you have to capture it. When I'm sending you, I'm ordering you to your death. Verbal order, no written order. And you carry it out. You may come back alive, you may come back in a body bag. But there is trust. You believe the CO that when he gives that order, it will be legitimate. He will make sure it is resourced. So it is a very different system. It works on trust, not on the written word. Right. That trust is created over years. That trust becomes respect. So that is why when you ask, I mean, of course, they know all this. So either you have the Manekshaw argument or you have that other argument. It's a very strong regimental system. See, I was lucky enough, I rose to be an army commander. The first time I dealt with any politician was when I was an army commander. So I dealt with Mr. Rajnath Singh, he was the Raksha Mantri and the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh. I was the army commander in Shimla because he was there. Before that, I was protected entirely. The poor civil servant doesn't have this. He deals with politicians right from the beginning. So does he become smart quicker than me? Or do I stay well protected for a longer time? But that is why the Indian Army it remains such a strong institution.
Right. Thank you so much for having us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for taking out your important time. And
Excellent.
especially, I guess you came to Delhi today itself.
Yes. Thank you very much.